I'm sure you guys probably heard there was a big story where Kim Kardashian had donated all kinds of money to protesters, the Breonna Taylor protest, the Black Lives Matter stuff. They filed a lawsuit against the city, and turns out they won $1 million freaking dollars for destroying our city. All of that is some bull crap, okay? All right, what is up, guys? It is your boy Rico back at it again with another episode of the OT Cowboy Show. So a lot has happened since the last time that I uploaded a video, or since we went live last, and I felt like it's a lot of things that we really need to talk about, man. The world is getting really crazy right now. The Breonna Taylor protesters from back in 2020, they filed a lawsuit and basically stating like they were abused, they were physically harmed during their protests, and so they filed a lawsuit with my city, the city of Louisville in Kentucky. Right now, as a lot of people know, Kentucky, yes, it is a red state, but Louisville, as outsiders call it, is actually a blue city. So it's a blue city in a red state, kind of like Chicago, how it's in Illinois. Illinois is a red state inside of a red state, and Chicago is a blue city. So Louisville is the same way. And that causes a lot of problems, being, you know, the really big gay pride events, you know, very soft on crime policies, you know, criminals run rampant all over the place. Yeah, I think we're like number 11th murder capital in the United States. Now, with that being said, we really need the National Guard here, but we haven't gotten any assistance with anything like that. But back to the topic at hand. Yes, they filed a lawsuit against the city, and turns out they won. They won $1 million freaking dollars for destroying our city. Let's watch this.
Metro government agrees to a $1 million settlement for LMPD's treatment of people during the Breonna Taylor protests. This is Wave News at 6. I'm Brian Schlonsky.
And I'm Myra Ansari. 5 years in the making. The money goes to 8 plaintiffs who claim that they were mistreated and, in some cases, injured by police. Wave News reporter David Mattingly has their reactions.
Myra, Jefferson Square Park here was the focal point for the Breonna Taylor social justice protests that we saw in 2020. And there were times, certain days, that those protests became violent and protesters became victims. Police wielding batons, tear gas, and firing pepper balls. Memorable images from a painful time in the city's history. Painful in more ways than one for social justice protester Patrick Moore.
I just couldn't see. I was yelling. It was burning. I wasn't sure if my eye was completely exploded or just in pain.
Moore was protesting peacefully when he was shot in the eye with a police pepper ball. 5 years and 4 surgeries later, much of the vision in his left eye is gone.
If I'm looking straight at you, I can't see this hand at all. I have no idea. I can see the tips of my fingers now. But there's just nothing over here. It's black.
Moore became one of 8 plaintiffs accusing LMPD of forcibly silencing protesters, often using military-type weapons and tactics that resemble those used by authoritarian regimes. After years of litigation, no one is admitting liability or fault, but the city has now agreed to pay a little over $1 million to the 8 plaintiffs subjected to LMPD's use of force. One of the plaintiffs is former state representative Attica Scott.
The settlement says that, like we see with what's going on politically at the national level, the courts are our last line of defense. And we, the people, use the courts in this case to hold LMPD and Louisville Metro government accountable.
I think it's a good jumping off point to continue more rule changes and more accountability, because the police here want trust from the citizens, but you can't have trust without accountability, which this settlement did help with.
We reached out to LMPD for comment, and they directed us to the mayor's office. We just received a comment from the mayor's office, and it says, in part, this case settles incidents from 2020. A lot has been learned in the years since. We are working hard at implementing reforms and building the most trusted and transparent police department in the country.
Anyways, man, I'm going to tell you right now, all of that is some bull crap, okay? And actually, let's go into a little history lesson for you guys. A little fun fact about me, all right? Fun fact about me, I used to sell phones, and back in the day, one of the stores that I worked at Metro PCS, right? I did this for like literally 5 years. During that time, one of my clients, one of the customers who came in there to buy phones from me, him and his girlfriend they were on the front lines. 2 white kids, actually. Well, no, the girl, I think she was like mixed or something, right? And I'm sure you guys probably heard there was a big story where Kim Kardashian had donated all kinds of money to protesters during the Breonna Taylor protest, the Black Lives Matter stuff. Yeah. These 2 were actually the ones who received that money from Kim Kardashian. The girl in particular, she was shot in the face point blank with a pepper ball during the protest, right? She came into the store to buy a new phone because she had gotten her phone broken at the protest when they were having a big old riot. Now, the thing is, she even told me straight up that she was physically violent with the police officers. They were throwing glass bottles at the police officers. They were throwing bricks at the police officers. They were running into the barricade full force. They were trying to hit them, trying to punch them. Some of them even pulled out guns. Some people even pulled out guns and tried to shoot at the police officers. Now, what were they doing during this protest when they, oh my God, just so happened to get shot in the face with pepper balls? Throwing bricks into stores, burning down buildings, breaking into cars, robbing stores, all of the above. Now, our store, my Metro PCS, was one of the stores that was hit during those protests, right? They broke into our store. They stole everything out of the safe. They stole everything out of the cash registers. They stole every phone in the building. They busted out every single window. They did the same thing to the Boost Mobile next door, right? And so I have to think, if this was a peaceful protest and the police were just so violent with them, right? Why did they destroy all of these small businesses around here, right? Because a lot of people, yeah, sure, you might think Metro PCS is a big corporation, but actually it's a franchise, and there was only 6 or 7 of those stores that were owned by this one guy. He is a minority, mind you. He is actually an immigrant. He is a legal immigrant, okay? And so I thought that you guys were all for Palestine, right? But Eddie, I hate to name drop you like this, bud, but that's not his real name. His real name I'm not going to say on here, but that's his nickname, is from Palestine, right? That's where he's from. He's from Gaza, okay? And he is a legal immigrant, and he owns a bunch of phone stores, which you guys just so happen to destroy, rob from, and break everything in his business to the point where he had to shut down 3 of the stores. So I say all of this to say, I live here. I live in Louisville. I am a Louisville native, born and raised, okay? And so I know this situation very intimately. At the time, we lived in downtown Louisville with my 2 young children, and I remember specifically my wife was freaking out because there was protesters marching up and down our street, destroying every car on the block, and we're trying to figure out where we can park our car. We're in a low-income area with no driveways, no garages. We can't even park our cars anywhere but the street, and the streets were so packed that we couldn't leave to go to work. We had to call off of work some days because they had literally taken over our entire city, and they were busting out windows, destroying things, harassing people, jumping people, robbing people. It was horrible. It was literally absolute chaos. It was hell.
If you're just joining us, why we're looking a bit different here, and our crews are here in the studio with us, that's because about 20 minutes before 11, protesters went down Chestnut Street and knocked many of the windows out, broke the windows, we should say, here at the WHS building. We're secure. The police department had arrived here and also gave us the okay. We have security here, so we are just fine, but we had to evacuate the news studio for a while, and you came back.
Bring the crews back in.
So your impression, let's talk about what Jesse Halliday just said. Now, the crowd moving to Baxter and Bardstown in the Highlands, but she emphasized no major incidents.
Yeah, and she didn't say that she had seen anything just yet, but she also talked about some of those Walmarts, which was new. We had just heard that.
The 3rd Division is Southwest Jefferson County, and she said that they had an incident at some Walmarts there where people were trying to steal from the store.
Right at them.
She did not call it looting.
Right, she actually said to not characterize it as looting, but the people were attempting to steal. So that is different.
Not characterize it as looting, but people are attempting to steal. Yes, there is a difference, I assume. There is a difference, yes. No, that makes no sense. At the time, I lived 3 blocks away from the news station, from WHAS, right? I saw what happened to their building. Every single window was busted out. Every single one. They stole so much recording equipment, dude. It was insane, okay? And so even while they are getting terrorized at that moment, you can hear in the background all of the people running around frantic, trying to figure out how they're going to go on. Even at that moment, the producer said, oh no, don't characterize it as looting. People, they have a right to be upset, and so we gotta watch what we say. No, this is a freaking riot. It was all out, just destruction. It should have been martial law. I think there was a martial law declared, if I'm not mistaken. It was insane. The part that bothers me the most, man, is they attack so many small businesses. It's not even funny, man. Like, the majority of things that got looted and destroyed was small businesses. And there's a ramen shop. It's really one of my favorite places, was one of my favorite places in Louisville. It's called Rinshoku. And I just want to take a moment and shout them out, because this was a mom and pop, husband and wife ran. Their friends would come and help out, and they take volunteers to help out, stuff like that. Ramen shop that they had built themselves with their own 2 hands, man. They painted all the walls, they built all the structures, they put in all the TVs, everything they did all by themselves. They had a really small menu that would change and rotate with seasonal fresh ingredients, man. And this was Louisville made for the people of Louisville. They were feeding the community, right? And during these protests, they busted out every window. There was a time someone came by and they shot out all the windows, and they came inside and they robbed the place and took all the stuff inside. And it was so bad that they were never able to bounce back from that. They tried doing little pop-ups here and there when they could, and eventually they had to shut their doors down completely. And this is someone's hopes and dreams. This was someone's dream, and now they are done. They have to go back to working a W-2 job, and they had to officially announce that they are closed permanently. And that was caused by these liberals, by the Democratic regime that is running our city. And now the same Democratic regime that hates the police and supports these criminals has now given them over $1 million. For what? Because you got injured while you were breaking the law? That's absurd. No, instead of awarding these criminals with $1 million, what you should do with that $1 million is give it to the business owners and the law-abiding citizens who had their belongings destroyed, had their businesses ransacked, and lost their livelihood on that day. Okay? If anything, they need to be arrested. And what we need to do is make them pay restitution to the citizens and the city of Louisville. That right there is wrong. As a parent, I know, and any parent who's listening to this, you know too, the one thing you do not do is reward bad behavior. We do not reward bad behavior. Why? Because you are guaranteed to receive more bad behavior. And so this whole paying them out $1 million, thank you so much for destroying our city. We're so sorry that you got hurt in the process. Oh, if you want to do it again, that's perfectly fine. Because they have, since this protest happened, and since they have gotten their victory, we have then had more Black Lives Matter protests, approximately 4 or 5 in Louisville alone. We've had No Kings protests. We've had protests on the day of the election. We've had protests after the election. It has been nonstop protests, riots, nonstop since Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, since all that happened, right? And another thing, I want to get this off my chest. Breonna Taylor was a known affiliate of a criminal. Dude was a drug dealer. He was not just like a small drug dealer either. He was moving pounds and pounds of heroin. Heroin. As a native in Louisville, trust me, actually as a recovered heroin addict myself, I know intimately what he was doing to our city. Okay, I know it very intimately. I lost a lot of friends. My son's mom literally died from a heroin overdose when he was 3, and I had to explain to him why I couldn't save his mom. Okay? And so I don't feel bad for Breonna Taylor or her boyfriend. They were pushing dope in our streets, killing millions. That number is not exaggerated. They were killing millions. And so if you want to lay up in the bed with a dope man, okay, in a trap house, and the door gets kicked in during a raid to take him to jail when they are serving an indictment, and he pulls a gun, aims it at the police, and you get shot in the process, well, guess what? Wrong place, wrong time. You shouldn't have been there. I don't want to hear all this, oh, she was so sweet, she was so innocent, it wasn't her fault, oh my goodness, poor Brionna Taylor. I don't want to hear any of that crap, because you knew what you did when you laid down with him, you knew what you did when you helped him, you knew what you were doing, and therefore you got what you got. When he aimed the gun at the cops, any police officer, any citizen in the United States of America, when someone aims a gun at you, you have the absolute right to shoot back, okay? And if someone who was helping him, one of his affiliates, one of his associates, gets shot, sucks to suck. Shouldn't have been there, okay? I don't feel bad for her, and I dang sure don't feel bad for these protesters, because only thing that they have done is tear down our city, destroy our nation, and honestly, good riddance, okay? So that's all I have to say about this subject. Paying out $1 million to people to destroy our city is absolutely wrong. It is bullcrap, and honestly, if you ask me, I call for that judge to be taken off the bench. That is all I got to say about this matter. It's your boy, OT Cowboy. I am out. So, in recent news, Nicholas J. Fuentes has called Brandon Tatum a effing idiot. Not only that, he dropped the N-word multiple times. Now, if anyone knows Nicholas Fuentes, then you know. All right, so in new news, Nick Fuentes has not only called Brandon Tatum out, he called him an effing idiot, mind you, but he also dropped the N-word. Shocker. Dude, the guy who calls himself an actual racist said the N-word. Oh my gosh. That is insane, right? All right, well, we'll get right into that after this. All right, we're back. So, as I said before, Nick Fuentes has dropped the N-bomb. He has literally unloaded the N-nukes. That was cheesy. He dropped the bombs, and he has called Brandon Tatum a effing idiot. Let's check this out.
But guess who decided to use the N-word to bring up yours truly? Lil Hitler, Nick Fuentes.
Why would I? He's an idiot. Hey man, Tucker, them some hey man. He's a idiot. Brandon Tatum is an idiot.
I put this on my life. He would never say this in my face.
Yo, all right. So. For anybody who knows me, you know that I am a huge fan of Brandon Tatum, man. That is my dude. I've talked to him very, very, very briefly. Like, he's responded to my messages a couple times. He's a great guy, man. I look up to him so much. He's actually one of the biggest inspirations for me starting this show in the first place, to be honest with you. He is also the main reason that I joined Blexit. And he is the reason that I am who I am today, to be honest with you. Him and Charlie Kirk and Matt Walsh are some of my biggest influences. And so hearing Nick Fuentes say this stuff really pissed me off. And not even just that, as a black man in America, honestly, like, I don't usually allow people to stir up anger in me with their words. The N-word, it's very offensive. It's wrong to even for anyone to use it, not just white people, for black people to use it too. The soft A does not make it better. Okay, I don't think that anyone should use that word. It just makes you ignorant, and it shows your lack of intelligence. But this time, yeah, it kind of pissed me off, right? Kind of made me mad. And previous to this happening, I had looked into Nick Fuentes' stuff, and I was like, you know what, man? He's actually got a point. Like, he was talking about how black people, white folks generally come into the hood and they see a group of black people and they get afraid and they feel like, hey, maybe it's not smart for me to go over there. I was like, to someone who's soft and sensitive, like, yeah, that would be very offensive. But if you have common sense, you sit back and you take your emotions out of it, you think about it. He had a point, right? Nick Fuentes does genuinely have a lot of really good points. I know Brandon hates him, okay, and I know they hate each other, and he had his problem with what's his name? The guy who just did Charlie's show. I'm having a brain fart. But they had their problems, right? And they worked through them. Anyways, I know that they hate each other, but they have their problems. But listen, I'm perfectly okay with seeing when someone makes a good point. And Nick Fuentes has made a lot of really good points, right? And so, therefore, with that being said, I said, you know what? I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this, and I'm going to find the original clip before I form any opinions, even though he did just say Brandon Tatum is an effing idiot, N-word. I still want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I still want to see exactly what it is that he has said before I form my own opinions about the situation, right? That's just the type of person I am. I like to have an informed opinion before I speak on any matter, right? So, with a lot of digging, it took me a lot of digging. I found the original clip. And hold on, wait. Let me say this. It took so much work, man, to find this original clip, and yet he has when I did find it on Rumble, he had 485,000 subscribers, 485,000 followers. But it's so hard. There was literally Reddit posts of people saying, how do I find his originals? How do I find his show? It's difficult to find. That speaks volumes for this man and how much pull he has, that people, it's that difficult to even find him at all. And yet he has that much of a following. It's absurd. Okay. So with that being said, anyways, I found the original clip. And of course, we are going to play that original clip here. And then I will let you guys form your own opinions about the situation from there. So let's dive right into that.
He was probably my number one favorite.
There's this guy called Officer Tatum, aka Officer Talmud. You should watch his 30 Minutes Crash to Nick Fuentes x Tucker Carlson interview. Lol, and his comments are filled with Zios who despise you.
Why would I? He's an idiot.
Hey man, shit. Hey man, Tucker, nigga, them some bitch ass nigga. Hey man.
He's a fucking idiot. Brandon Tatum is an idiot. Dumbest person I've ever heard. He should get an education. Officer Tatum should get an education. He should learn how to fucking read.
Peace Supremacy sent $50. Brother, I'm an American Muslim. I share your values on the sanctity of Jesus and human life.
Now, anyways, woo! Hold on, let me go full screen. We got to go full screen for this. This guy is wild, okay? Not only did he say the N-word multiple times, I hope YouTube doesn't cancel me for not muting his words. Those were not my words, YouTube. Those were Nick Fuentes' words. Not only did he say the N-word a lot of times, which I've since found a lot of clips of him saying the N-word a lot of times. I was digging through his Rumble trying to find that exact moment, and each video is an hour and 36, almost 2 hours long. And I had to dig through a lot of them to find that clip. And let me just say, I am 100% convinced that Nicholas Fuentes is in fact a racist. Okay, I wasn't before. Now I'm very much sure. Yes, he makes good points, but you know, they say even a broken clock is right twice a day. This guy is 100% racist. Okay, I promise you guys that is a fact, and I have proof. I have proof because, like I said, I do my research. I dig deep before I make a decision. This is the OT Cowboy Show, the original truth show, and so I like to find the original truth, not the BS that the media gives us, but the truth. So this is from Nicholas J. Fuentes' page. This is a swastika that came from one of his followers. Here, I'll go full screen so you guys can see. Is not only is he racist, but at least a bare minimum of 136 of his followers are also racist. So explain that, right? And I've talked to a few groypers, and each groyper that I've talked to has also had some racist views. And I just want to say this, man. I just want to say this. It does bother me that a lot of conservatives, quote unquote conservatives, are supporting Nick Fuentes and following his movement very heavily. And it really bothers me because as a conservative, I don't believe that it means that we are racist. I don't think that conservatism inherently makes us a racist or a fascist or a Nazi. But when I see people like that, like Nick Fuentes, giving these libs that ammunition, it's kind of hard to fight for us. It's kind of hard to defend our movement. Like, what do we say? Like, oh, yeah, I'm a conservative, and Matt Walsh and Brionna Taylor and Candace Owens, but we don't claim Nick. We don't claim him. He's not a real conservative. Everything he says that he stands for, everything he fights for, does align with the conservative movement. But there's also some things that don't, maybe just racism. Racism might be one of those things. Like, how do we defend this? How do I tell my black family and liberal coworkers, how do I win them over for our side when you have a guy who says he supports Joseph freaking Stalin? Yeah, he said that. Let's roll the next clip, guys.
Late December. It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's?
Mm-hmm. Always an admirer. But we don't need to go into that.
Well, that's okay. Let's get back to it. We'll circle back to that.
It was weird because the reason I mentioned that, it was almost like, because I woke up that day and I was like, oh, it's December 18th. And I was just like very acutely aware of like, today's like a strange day. This is the day that the attempt happened.
Okay, so anyways, man, Nick Fuentes is openly racist. He has said himself during his interview with Candace, I used to say that I was racial, but now I just say I'm racist. Hold on, what's up? Yeah, I'm almost done. Yeah, come in. Just come in. I don't want to be on camera. I'm not doing a live, I'm recording. If I was, then it would be ruined right now. I put it on airplane mode because Reese texted me and it was picking it up. Love you. Love you too.
Think that we need to deconstruct this idea of racism in the sense that, look, you're black, I'm white. It is what it is. For my entire life, people have been walking around in eggshells about the subject of race, about white people being racist. Can I say this? Can I say that? Can I have this opinion? And me, I'm sort of, Gavin McInnes said it like this. He said, you're kind of post-racist. You're sort of after this craze where everything was racist. It's sort of this recognition that we live in a heavily racial world. And, look, sometimes we have racist feelings like I want to live in a white neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to live in a black neighborhood. If they were all like you, obviously it'd be a different story. But when we think of a black neighborhood, we know what that means and why the property value.
But that's
cheap.
Black American. So this is why I want to understand this idea better, because, and this is kind of something my cousin has said, which I guess you could say is a racist statement, but she says that white people in America are the white trash of white people in the world, meaning that like there's a special category of uniquely that you don't see when you're dealing with like white Americans here, that if you went across to just, I mean, like Switzerland, you wouldn't
culture. Black America is the way it is because of hip hop music and the Great Society and that kind of stuff. And I think the uncomfortable reality is a big part of it is intrinsic. You know, one of the big arguments against the abolition of slavery in the 1860s is that, you know, when Europeans colonized Africa, they hadn't discovered the wheel. There's no two-story buildings. There's no writing. There's no written language. Missionaries had to go to Africa in the last century and invent it for the African people because there's no recorded history. They didn't have writing. Of Africa in the late 19th century, scrambled for Africa.
So we're now knocking Egypt out of Africa.
Well, Egypt is part of northern Africa, sub-Saharan
Africa. You said Africa, so I'm not trying to get a gotcha. I'm just responding. You're saying Africa.
Sure. Yeah.
It's in Africa. It's Egypt. It's kind of ridiculous to say there was no
group differences in IQ. Or?
I think that there's group differences, but I wouldn't say, and the reason why I'm pushing back on this is because those perspectives that you hold, Thomas Sowell did a really good job debunking that. And I think the book is called Intellectuals and Race, and he
should be interracial marriage. I'm Catholic, so as you know, it's not a sin to be in an interracial marriage or relationship, but I am racist, I would say. I believe in the races. I believe there are white people and black people and Hispanics and Asians, and I think that it's a core part of our identity. It's who we are. And there's like this conservative reflex to say, we're colorblind. Race doesn't mean anything. And, you know, Pat Buchanan said this. He said, it's not everything, but it isn't nothing. And I definitely lean more towards the latter, which is it really is a core part of who we are. Our culture, our heritage, our ancestors, our customs, all of it. You know, it's not that I don't think that two people can fall in love from different races. Of course they can. And they have throughout history. And the races have mixed throughout history and assimilated. But for someone like myself, I always say on my show, it's just my value. I want to marry someone that looks like me, that comes from a similar background, because I want my kids to look like me. I want my grandkids to look like me.
I find it pretty.
All right. And so Nicholas Fuentes has literally claimed, he has said, we've heard him say it, that he used to think he was racial, and now he just considers himself to be racist. I guess where I'm going with all of this, man, is it seems to me that he is totally okay with being racist. Like, he's totally okay with the world seeing him as racist, and he has said a lot of things that have given off this viewpoint that he genuinely believes that the white race is superior to other races. And he's also said things like, I don't want to marry, I want my kids to look like me, and which is fine. Honestly, a lot of the things that he says, it's like not a problem by theirself, but when you put them all together, it's kind of like a serious problem. And also, I hate the fact that he has become this figurehead now, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of people that support his thought process. He is really like contaminating the conservative party, the conservative movement, and I hate it, man. I genuinely hate it. I do, man. I don't know. You guys tell me what you think. Do you think that Nick Fuentes is conducive to the conservative movement? Do you think that it's okay to be openly racist? Do you think that it is okay for a person who says that they are openly racist to also use the N-word left and right? And yeah, you tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I personally don't like him anymore. Like, I never really did like him, but I thought some of his points were good. And now I feel icky after watching his videos. But like I said, you guys let me know in the comments below. No judgment anywhere, man. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the video, and join the community. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.